Here, okay, here's a long overdue review, but from about 2 weeks ago, roughly. Actually closing on two and a half. But sometimes I like to hold off on doing stuff for even a week or two because just to see what I remember about an event or a performance. Yes, it is occasionally intentional. Um, but this one is the HipHop Collective, which was I believe the last Saturday, the last Friday, no, the first Friday of November over in Bethlehem, over at the Touchstone Theater. I received an invite from a friend of mine, Steve Delturk, who is probably one of the best spoken word performing artists, non-musical, in the entire Lehigh Valley that I have seen yet. There's a lot I haven't seen, but Steve is just someone out of everyone I've seen so far that you really have to experience. So prior to this, I was actually invited to the group called The Inconvenient Truth. They meet over at Lehigh, and about 2 weeks prior, I was invited to one of their workshops, and basically not rehearsals, but getting ready for the show, which that really impressed me. The different styles, the different people, different levels of emotion, etc. As far as what they wrote and how they performed it. Now, I'm going to shoot right into the review, so I don't want to bore the hell out of you. But as far as right off, I want to say that excuse me, right off I want to let you know that the Touchstone Theater held a little over 70 people. They literally packed the place. I was informed that about 10 minutes before showtime, at 8 o'clock, they had to turn away at least 20 people. It was literally sold out show. Okay, which you may think the numbers are low, with those low numbers, what's the big deal? But this was the first time that the group was performing. So to sell out, to have that many people, that's very impressive. Now it was split into, I had the privilege of going backstage, taking some photos for them, but it was split in between two sections. The first was the group of performers, which included their mentor, shall we say, Kashi Johnson, who was a professor at Lehigh. And then there was a short intermission, and the intermission was followed by an open mic. So you had a chance to see the performers, and then anyone who wanted to sign up, and perform, get up there and read, had a chance also. A majority of the crowd, I'd say maybe 5 people, if that, left between the intermission and the open mic section. So it was really, to give you a better idea of the numbers, a little over 70 was the seating. Now, with the exception of blocking the door, I was like literally pinned up against the wall with the camera, basically like this, trying to stay out of people's way. And for the open mic, they actually had to allow some of the people to sit on stage. But the performance was overall, I would have to give it my second highest rating. And even though I was informed of the reason, why it didn't get my highest rating as far as one point in the criteria, you just get creative a little bit, just move around or whatever. But anyway, as far as the performance went, basically each person, each individual, they had no cases of stage fright at all. Zero, none. And I believe 1 or 2 it was their first time performing in front of a group, a large group or a large crowd. There was 0 cases of stage fright. The variety in as far as the poetry and the stories went, it would go from one person with having a more basically pissed off emotion to it, to the one girl who was standing up on stage and basically just, you know, it almost looked like she was completely numb from while she was reading it, which was I could tell, which was intentional, the way she performed, and you know the story in the poem that she read, because of because of what it was about. So each performer, they didn't fake any emotions, and if they did, they did a damn good job. You know, it went from, like I said, everything from just standing up there and you could feel that if this was a part of her life, that she basically just completely shut all emotion down, to Kashi, who delivered at the end of the first part, delivered a very, very emotional performance, to the point where she was almost in tears from it. You know, as far as a couple, there was one or two that basically the stories came from the street, and you could tell that if they didn't live it, they had at least some experience of it. So now I want to shoot, thankfully the video forces me to keep these short also. But the audience and the crowd response was just, I mean, at the end of the first half, it was literally standing ovation. At points, the crowd response literally was almost deafening, where I actually had to give the quick wince with the ears, because it was just the claps, the cheers, the applause was was top of the scale. And again, it wasn't, okay, well, this person is done, let's do the mandatory clapping, let's get on with the next one. It was, honestly, the audience was completely engrossed in every poem, every story, every performance, and it was almost unbelievable, an unbelievable experience. I'm going to shoot, so before I get to low points in the overall rating, I want to shoot, as far as the open mic went, open mic fluctuated. You had some people that, I mean, literally almost, you know, basically went right up to the audience, almost started walking up the stairs, the middle stairs, and just like literally got right up in your face, which was perfect for, you know, their emotion, you know, the way they moved, they acted out the poetry. And you had others which, okay, they just, you know, one or two got up there, they read it, they got off the stage. Everyone still applauded, and there was one that, honestly, by the time they got to the actual poem, it was a great time for a cigarette break. And don't quite remember the name, but it was the introduction to the poem. I literally walked out, and from what I was told after the fact, the word train wreck came into the overall review. But, you know, I'm not slamming anyone, don't get me wrong. It's just, if you're up on a stage in front of that many people, think of it like live music. People don't only go to these things, especially open mics. They go just like live music, just like anything else. They want to see a show. Okay, I review this stuff. My first book was a majority of poetry. Every single day, which no one sees, if I'm listening to a song or if I'm going over one of my poems, I'm moving to it. Don't just get up there and, you know, and I say this to everyone, if you want to get up, whether it's an open mic, whether it's 1,000 people, don't just stand up there and look at your paper, look at your tablet, look at your phone and read it. Put some emotion behind it. Poetry, like music, is, from the dawn of man, the human race was designed for this. The purpose is to convey the emotion, because especially if it's an original you're writing, there's a part of you in it. There's a part of the emotion in it. So That's what I look for, especially with, even with open mics. The low point, and I was informed by this after the fact why, but the low point was people for the first half, it basically it was like a line on the stage where they didn't move past. The reason I was informed is because with being flooded with the lights, that they couldn't be seen past a certain point on the stage by the audience. But honestly, I would, if that would have been me, I would still would have taken that chance. And it's like, okay, at least they can hear me. Nothing major, but still, it's a point in the criteria. It's a point in the criteria. So the overall rating I would give it would have to be one below my highest rating, which was excellent, which I can't remember my rating system off the top of my head, but basically to put it on the stars equivalent, I would have to give it about 4.5 stars. And I'm not being nice about this. For the first performance, it took off. I mean, I was standing back there, I was standing all the way in the back taking the photos, and I was like, at each one, I was like, damn. I thought they did good at the one I attend, one of the warm-up sessions. But overall, I know they're planning a second. The Hip Hop Collective is planning another show. I just don't know when. But my overall recommendation for this and the group The Inconvenient Truth, if you have a chance to catch any of these performers, if you have a chance to see the group, this group, I believe, is going to do so much for putting the spoken word, poetry, and performing these things. This group is going to do so much for putting this, starting to build it up close to the level of arts and music that the Lehigh Valley is known for. Now, yes, I'm grabbing the laptop quick, but just because I like to give credit, I do like to give credit. The members of Inconvenient Truth that participated, and you will see the names listed on the website, actually in the article rather, or you had Mila, Carol, Hung, DeAnthony, DeAnthony was one of the highest. He was one of the people I was really looking forward to seeing. He did an ass-kicking job. Collier, Rose, Emily, I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Kate, Steve, Brittany, Micah, Sandra, and Kashi. So, just if you have a chance, put this on the level of when you go see live music in the area. Honestly, if you have a chance to see any of these people perform, do it. I'm looking forward to eventually when they do have another show. So, but overall, like I said, realistically, I shouldn't have held that one low point against them, but I have to be honest, I have to be completely honest with you. So therefore, it did not exactly rate my highest rating, but they came damn close. The open mic was an excellent combination of, like I said, everything from one or two people that got up there, basically read it, got the applause, boom, walked off, to a couple people completely almost literally getting right up in your face and figuratively slapping it, not literally, of course. So the open mic part was excellent, but for overall, yeah, it was definitely worth the time, especially jammed into a First Friday on the south side of Bethlehem and in the Lehigh Valley in general, where you have at least 20 to 30 First Friday events going on all over the valley. So it was definitely worth the time. But as always, thanks for checking this out. I hope you like the upgrade, the new evolution of a Valley and Beyond to video. If you don't want to watch me, hey, I don't blame you. I would just listen to it in the background anyway. But thanks a lot. Check these people out. I know Steve Delturk and Kashi Johnson. Definitely check them out on Facebook. The rest, along with the rest of the group. Unfortunately, they don't have a Facebook page yet, but I think they will in the near future. So, thanks again. Later.